Good morning,
Good
ETK.
morning.
Good morning, guys.
Everyone.
Good morning,
Hello, good
all.
morning. How are you guys?
Yes, I am fine with the help of Jesus Christ. He gave me a good health. He blessed me more, and He protect me always.
Good, good. It's been so long, and it's a good thing that we have this reporting in our subject Prof Ed 103, which is the teacher and the community, school culture, and organizational leadership. Okay, as your group leader, since you are tasked about the philosophy in education, specifically the social reconstructionism of Theodore Brameld, do you have any idea what this is?
Yes, ETK. According to my research, Reconstructionism, also known as social reconstructionism, is theory claims to be the true successor of Franklinism and declares that the chief of purpose of education is to reconstruct society in order to meet the cultural crisis brought by social, political, and economic problems. Social Reconstructionism is a philosophy that emphasizes the addressing of social questions and a quest to create a better society and a worldwide democracy. Typically, a Reconstructionist focuses on a curriculum that highlights social reform. Social questions is a problem or a difficulty which demands solutions, and one that concerns society and a social group. And then social questions calling for a remedy or removal. While social reform is a organization or a people of a community who aim to create a change in their society or a gradual change.
In addition to Mr. Kevin Barkes, the philosophical root of philosophy, pragmatism. It means that thinking of and dealing with the problems in the practical way of rather than by using theory or abstract principle. And it also focuses on the practical outcomes of what we think and what we do. And also, it is a reasonable and logical way of doing things or thinking about problems that is based on dealing with a specific situation instead of ideas and theories. For example, in some areas in the continent of Africa, we could say that the lack of education in many tribes made their economy belongs to third world country. If only education are their top priority, they will be able to resolve some problems that affects their economy. With this, social reconstructionism is the best way to solve these problems.
Also advocate, aside from Theodore Brameld, the principal proponents of social reconstructionism are George Counts and Paulo Freire. Principal proponents: Theodore Brameld, 1904 to 1987. He was considered the founder of social reconstructionism. He recognized the potential for either human annihilation through technology and human cruelty, and the use technology and human compassion to create a beneficent society. It means that every person having the capacity to develop something by the use or by the help of technology. In education, Brameld used technology to create a better performance of every student. By the use of technology, human compassion, which means or which is to come together or to suffer together, we can create a better or we can create a beneficent society. George Counts, 1889 to 1974, recognized that education was the means of preparing people for creating this new social order. It means that Counts discovered the essence of education, which is we can get learnings and expanding culture as it contribute to the improvement of human condition through better knowledge, social equity, productivity, and many more. Education is considered as the mechanism of social control. According to Durkheim, he believes that education carries the commands of the society and enforces these commands on both teachers and the student in order to offer adequate enterprise and knowledge into the minds of the student to fit into the demands of society. Paulo Freire, 1921 to 1997, a Brazilian whose experiences living in a poverty led him to champion education and literacy as the vehicle for social change. It means that Paulo is just a poor person, but he used his knowledge to continue his education because, according to him, education can change your life into better. According to Paulo, humans must learn to resist oppression and not become its victims, nor oppress others. So, as a student, I have or we have the obligation to protect one's rational nature from being harmed. Let us not be a victim of oppression. Instead, we have to guide or we have to help others to protect their power and rights. Educating one another can lead into a better life. Paulo also said that teaching and learning is a process of inquiry in which the child must invent and reinvent the world. It means that through teaching and learning, the student or child become more open-minded and have the ability to think critically, to become an extraordinary person that can create something new or to change something new to the world. For example, if you are not just a top student in the class, but you are consistent or you are trying hard to educate yourself, so you can be a person who can help to change the world, because it's not just how you start, but also how you end the race.
At the gate, I have also a couple of slides that I got from Google. The nature of the learner and the purpose of schooling that has not been the basis of the Theodore philosophy of education of social reconstructivism. So now, we are tackle about the nature of the learners and the purpose of schooling. Let's first have the nature of learners. The content of nature of learner. Students are critical element bringing social change. In fact, the way to student to bring the social change is to be educated, because education bring the social change both individual and the community. The teacher are the agent of change. The education will be the stimulus, and the student will be the recipients and perceiver of change. Students bring the social change because they are the leaders of tomorrow. Education equips them to the right tools to be a good leader. The next nature of learners, students are capable for initiating and adapting the change, especially if they are influenced by the appropriate adult role model. The best question here, what is the impact of teacher professional development of the student learning outcome? It is mean the teacher provide a high quality teaching for all students to be capable to practice when she face the new environment, new situation, and encourage the student to become comfortable in all time. The parents, the teacher, and the community leads to be a good role model for the young generation because it is represent as inspirational ideas who inspires others to imitate his or her good behavior. Now, let's proceed in the purpose of schooling. The purpose of schooling is critically examine all cultural and educational institutions and recommended the change and reform as needed. Critically examine all cultural in education, bringing the needed and desirable by learning, and understanding different culture that influenced by many factors in education. As a purpose, When the student working and learning with the other student, they are the comprehensive understanding in cultural background. Educational institution recommended the change and reform as needed. So in short, this is educational reform. Educational reform is to transform school structure which aim the raising quality of education in the country. The next purpose of schooling is to teach students and the public not settle for what is but rather than to dream what might be. Effective educator who will not settle for what is because the world is constantly changing. The education, teaching, and the learning cannot remain stagnant. So that the teacher provide the challenge for students to think critical and analytical that involve the learning process through research, questioning, and reflection. Then the last purpose of schooling is to prepare students to become agent of change. Being a teacher, you prepare the student to become someone who recognizes that they can do better. An individual operates outside of the social change by bringing about the change in the outlook and the attitude and the pattern of social relationship of an individual, so that the student is a transformational leader in the nation. That will be all for the nature of learner and the schooling.
I agree. In fact, in my research, I have here instructional methods that are added to the curriculum so that learners would reflect democratic ideals and emphasize civic education, and then open opportunities for students to gain first-hand experiences in studying real social problems and controversial issues. And also, students would consider societal problems such as place of ethics in improving quality of life, conserve natural resources, and issues of foreign policy and naturalism. And then in this instructional methods, I'm gonna show you a slide about this. I got this from the internet, and this one. Instructional methods, we have here cooperative learning, problem solving, and critical thinking. And then we go on with to focus on active learning and activities outside of school. And also, students spend time in the community to learn its problems and would analyze research and link issues to place in the community and larger society. Take action of responsibility in planning or change. An example of this is the subjects NSTP or the CWTS and LTS. CWTS is Civic Welfare Training Service, and LTS is Literacy Training Service. With all of that information being said, I can say that Theodore Brameld aimed to emphasize the addressing of social questions for the betterment of the whole wide world, like what Mr. Kevin Vargas said earlier. And furthermore, Reconstructionist educators, like people or educators who believe in social reconstructionism, they propose to highlight social reform as the aim of education. For example, these educators who believe in social reconstructionism, they aim to create a change in their society. And this change is not that easy, not that quick. It takes time, gradual change. So I guess we are ready, guys. I'm just gonna make the PowerPoint presentation, and we're good to go on Tuesday. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. See you on Tuesday. Spread the peace,
Thank you so much for
love,
listening.
and unity.